Hi, thank you for joining me. Today the subject's a little bit different to normal. It's not really about amateur radio, but it is still about radio. So for those of you that know me, know that I've got a passion for boats, and you'll probably also realise that I've got a marine VHF licence. So that's what I'm going to talk to you about today, these. So this is my little VHF handy. Normally on a boat you would have and equally you've got an up down channel facility, so as you can probably see there, and if I press this button it will go to channel 16 and back to the channel that we was looking at just. And if I go to channel 80 for instance, and then I press dual watch, that now is flicking between channel 80 and channel 16, so I'm watching both frequencies or both channels. These are VHF. They operate at around 153 megahertz. Some of the channels are what we would class as simplex, so you transmit and receive on the same frequency. And then some of the channels are what we would class as duplex, so you transmit on one frequency and then you receive on a different frequency, and very often you can only hear the frequency that you receive on. So I'll give you an example of that. So for instance, channel 80 is a duplex frequency. So what you would be able to hear is the conversation coming from the marina, but you wouldn't hear the conversation going to the marina from the boat, because the boat would be transmitting on one frequency and then you're set to receive on the other frequency. So a lot of people who are interested in listening to radio, for instance, marine, if they live by the sea, is one of those user types that people like to listen to. So you can do that using you can actually do it using a standard Bofeng or many other wideband handy talkies. Personally, the easiest way to do it is with a proper marine radio, although you clearly can't transmit because a fixed unit with a bigger antenna. And you would normally be encouraged to have one of these as well, just in case you fall overboard, or if you want to talk to somebody and just haven't got your other radio handy. So in very much the same way as amateur radio, you need a license and you have to sit a test. And the difference between these and amateur radio is these are not really operated for fun or for a hobby. These are simply for communication. So literally you would use one of these primarily to call distress. So if you've got an emergency, you would use one of these to call the Coast Guard. Also you would use one of these to call the marina if you're looking at going into a marina or even leaving a marina. And equally you can use one of these to call ship to ship and even intra-ship, so you could use this to call different positions on a ship. Maybe if you've got one person on the stern, one person on the foredeck, and you need to communicate between those people when you're coming into a berth, for instance. The main difference between these and amateur radio is these are channelized. So I won't go into all the channels, but basically you've got around about 20 channels, 20 usable channels, depending on what your purpose of using the radio is. Some of the channels are specifically for maybe calling a calling channel, let's call it, or even an emergency distress channel, which is channel 16 here in the UK. Some channels are specifically for calling other users within the same ship, and some are designated for intra-ship and inter-ship communications. Again, I won't bore you with those. In terms of power, these have only got two settings, normal and low. I think the normal setting is 4 watts, and I think the low power is maybe half a watt or a quarter of a watt. But again, users of these radios don't tend to be bothered about the technicalities as we are in amateur radio, because literally you pass your test, you buy your device, and then you use it. What else to tell you? You can quite happily use these radios on a dual watch system. So for instance, you may want them monitoring channel 16 and also at the same time monitoring maybe the channel 80 for talking to the marina. So you can very easily press one of the buttons and it will go into dual watch, and it'll listen to both stations at the same, or both channels at the same time. Also, you've got the usual stuff that you would expect, such as volume and squelch. What else is there on here? There's a button for the weather, so different frequencies at different times of the day will transmit the weather and shipping forecast.